Cam Skattebo wasn't supposed to be here. He was a zero-star recruit. No FBS offers, no hype, no spotlight. Just a kid from Northern California that no team wanted. But even after a record-breaking college career, every single NFL team passed on him. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. Why? Well, to find out, we have to go back to where it all started. Before Cam Skattebo was breaking tackles in the NFL, he was breaking his parents' sanity. As a toddler, Skattebo earned the nickname Houdini because he would escape from every single car seat his parents bought. But escaping car seats, that was nothing compared to what came next. As he got older, Cam put on his big brother's shoulder pads and run full speed into telephone poles. So it's no surprise that by the time he got to high school, he was doing the same thing to defenders, just with a football in his hands. As a junior, Skattebo put up numbers that didn't even look real. He rushed for 3,550 yards and 42 touchdowns on just 305 carries. That's an absurd 11.6 yards per carry, basically a first down every time he touched the ball. And he wasn't just stuffing the stat sheet. That season, he carried his team all the way to a state championship. So naturally, every major program in the country was lining up to offer him a scholarship, right? Wrong. Despite the insane production, recruiting analysts gave Cam Skattebo a grand total of 0 stars. That's right, he was a 0-star recruit. Why? Well, for starters, Cam didn't fit the prototype that college coaches dream about. At just 5'9", scouts saw a back who was too small, too slow, and not athletic enough to dominate at the next level. And since he wasn't going up against the big California powerhouses, they dismissed him as a small school stat patter, a mistake they'd soon regret. Cam Skattebo didn't receive a single offer from an FBS program. His only Division I offer came from a local FCS school, Sacramento State. It wasn't the dream, but it was a chance, so Skattebo took it and didn't look back. When Cam arrived at Sacramento State in 2020, the season was canceled due to COVID, so he had to wait an entire year to prove himself. Finally, in 2021, he got his shot. As a freshman, Skattebo rushed for 520 yards and 6 touchdowns on just 57 carries. That's 9.1 yards per carry. He earned third-team All-Big Sky honors, and people started to notice. Maybe this kid from Rio Linda was for real. But 2022 is when everything changed. That season, Skattebo became the engine of Sacramento State's offense. He rushed for 1,382 yards and 7 touchdowns, while also catching 31 passes for 371 yards and 3 more scores. He wasn't just good, he was dominant. The Hornets went 11-0 in the regular season and climbed to number 2 in the FCS rankings. Skattebo was named Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year, and suddenly, the 0-star recruit who nobody wanted was one of the best players in all of FCS football. But here's where it gets interesting. In December, after Sacramento State lost in the FCS playoffs, Skattebo entered the transfer portal. He knew he could play at a higher level, and this time, FBS programs believed in him. Skattebo landed at Arizona State, where new head coach Kenny Dillingham had just taken over. 2023 was a rebuilding year. ASU won just 3 games. Skattebo rushed for 783 yards and 9 touchdowns on 164 carries. Solid numbers, but nothing that turned heads nationally. After that season, Dillingham sat down with him and laid it out. If you want to play in the NFL, here's what needs to change. Here's where you need to improve. Skattebo didn't argue. He listened, then went to work that offseason and transformed himself. And when the 2024 season kicked off, the results were immediate. Week 2 against Mississippi State, Skattebo racked up 262 rushing yards on 33 carries. Even crazier, 155 of those yards came after contact. That alone was more than what all but 7 players in the country had in total rushing yards that week. A few weeks later, against Oklahoma State, he did it again. Over 270 total yards from scrimmage and 3 touchdowns. And oh yeah, at ASU, instead of running into telephone poles, he was banging his head into brick walls. By the end of the regular season, Skattebo's numbers were staggering: 1,711 rushing yards, shattering Arizona State's single-season record and ranking 2nd in all of college football. 21 rushing touchdowns, 605 receiving yards, and over 2,300 yards from scrimmage. He finished 5th in Heisman voting, behind only Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Dylan Gabriel, and Cam Ward. And then came the Big 12 championship game. Against Iowa State, Skattebo rushed for 170 yards, scored a total of 3 touchdowns, and was named the game's MVP. But the biggest stage was still waiting. Also guys, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Arena Club. I'm using Arena Club to build my sports card collection, and you should too. Their slab packs are one of the most fun ways to build your collection. We're gonna open one in a second, but first let me just walk you through how they work. Each slab pack contains one graded card with packs starting at just $25 and scaling up from there. Every pack includes grail cards that are worth at least 20 times the price of the pack. Arena Club is also the most trusted name in the game. They show every card in each pack along with the likelihood of pulling each one, so you know exactly what's available before you buy. Alright guys, it's time to open our slab pack. We're opening the $250 one. Here we go. We're opening the pack. We're opening the Ruby pack. Let's get something good. Oh, Herbert. Let's go. Jay Herbo. Look, I already have one of his cards right here. Okay, I love this card so much, I'm not just gonna keep it in my Arena Club collection, I'm gonna have it physically shipped to me. So next Arena Club video, stay tuned, the card should be here and we'll get to look at it in person. And guys, right now you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/SheGotSports and use code SheGotSports. The college football playoff quarterfinal, Texas versus ASU. The Sun Devils were 13.5-point underdogs against the Texas defense that had allowed just 15 points per game all season, the 3rd best mark in the country. Early on, it looked like the doubters were right. Texas was up 24-8 midway through the 4th quarter. And to make matters even worse, cameras caught Skattebo vomiting profusely on the sideline. He looked completely gassed, absolutely done. But what happened next will go down in college football history. On 4th and 2, with just over 6 minutes left, Arizona State called a trick play. Skattebo took the pitch, rolled to his right, and launched a perfect 42-yard touchdown pass. On the next drive, Skattebo hauled in a pass for a 62-yard gain, which set up a short touchdown run by, you guessed it, Cam Skattebo. And of course, he ran the 2-point conversion in himself, tying the game 24-24 with 5 minutes left. Texas had 2 chances to win in regulation, but their kicker missed both field goals. So to overtime they went. In the first OT, Skattebo powered in from 3 yards out to give ASU their first lead of the game. But Texas answered with a touchdown of their own to force double overtime. On Arizona State's possession in the second OT, they couldn't punch it in. Texas got the ball back and scored to win it 39-31. But Cam Skattebo, he had just put together one of the greatest performances in college football playoff history. His final stat line, 143 rushing yards, 99 receiving yards, 42 passing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. That's 284 total yards and 3 total scores. He was named the Peach Bowl's offensive MVP, the first player from a losing team to win the award in 26 years. Coming into the 2025 NFL Draft, Cam Skattebo's stock was all over the place. At the combine, he skipped everything except the vertical and broad jump drills. Then, at Arizona State's Pro Day, he ran a 4.65 in the 40-yard dash, a time that would have ranked dead last among all running backs at the combine. The doubts came flooding back louder than ever. Just like in high school, the scouts looked at the measurables and dismissed everything else. The pre-draft reports read like carbon copies of his high school recruiting profile. Too slow to break away from NFL linebackers, not explosive enough to create in space, lacks the burst to hit the hole at the next level. He's a college star who won't translate. Mock drafts had him going anywhere from the 2nd to 7th round. Then, draft day arrived and Skattebo watched and waited. The first round came and went. No call. Second round, still nothing. Third round passed and his phone was still silent. Team after team passed on him. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. 7 other running backs were drafted before him. Then finally, with the 105th overall pick in the 4th round, the New York Giants took a chance and drafted Cam Skattebo. When Skattebo got to New York, he immediately found a kindred spirit. The Giants' first round pick, quarterback Jackson Dart. When the two first met at the Giants Giants facility, they said like 3 words to each other, then butted heads. It was a match made in heaven. The very first snap of Skattebo's NFL career told you everything. He didn't get the ball, but he didn't need to. It was a pass play, and Skattebo went full throttle into a blitzing defender, laying out a vicious block. One play, and you could already tell this guy ran into telephone poles as a kid. Just a few plays later, he touched the ball for the first time and viciously knocked over 2 defenders. The following week versus the Cowboys, Skattebo got more playing time. He carried the ball 13 times for 53 yards and scored his first NFL touchdown. Not the craziest stat line, but it was a start. In week 3, Skattebo was once again supposed to split snaps with the Giants starting running back Tyrone Tracy. But then, in the first quarter of that matchup, Tracy left with a shoulder injury that would sideline him for multiple weeks. Suddenly, Skattebo was the guy, and he didn't flinch. In that matchup versus the Chiefs, Skattebo carried the ball 10 times for 60 yards and a touchdown, while also catching 6 passes for an additional 61 yards. The Giants still lost, but Skattebo was a main reason why the game stayed close. Week 4, the Giants versus the undefeated Los Angeles Chargers. Skattebo was getting his first NFL start, and right beside him, his buddy Jackson Dart, making his debut as the team's starting quarterback. 2 rookies' first starts against an undefeated team, and they took over. Skattebo and Dart led the Giants to their first win of the season, and suddenly New York was buzzing. The future looked bright, the vibes were immaculate, but the very next week, everything fell apart. Fourth quarter versus the winless Saints. Skattebo has the ball in the red zone, driving for what could have been the game-winning score, and then he fumbled. The Saints scooped it up and took it the other way for a touchdown that sealed their victory. The Giants dropped to 1-4, and Skattebo felt like he was the reason why. After the game, he tweeted out, "Sorry Giants fans, I will be better for y'all. Love." 4 days later, Thursday Night Football against their division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. And this wasn't just any game against Philly. This was the team that now had Saquon Barkley, the Giants' former star running back who left in a drama-filled offseason departure. The stage was set, the storylines were perfect, and Cam Skattebo, he didn't just bounce back. He stole the show. 19 carries for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns. The kid who was too slow, too unathletic, not good enough, he just embarrassed the defending Super Bowl champions on national television. Because here's what they could never measure at the combine: his refusal to quit, his ability to get back up, his willingness to run straight into a wall, literally if that's what it took. Cam Skattebo didn't need elite measurables, he just needed a chance. And every single time someone gave him one, he made them regret ever doubting him in the first place. Also, did you know scouts literally laughed in a player's face at the combine because of his measurables? Yeah, that player was Darren Sproles, the shortest player in the NFL at the time, and he went on to break tons of records. If you want to hear his insanely inspiring story, check out this video up here.